Sweet. All right. Let everyone join. Okay. Hello, everyone. I'm just giving everyone a couple minutes to join. So in a minute or two, I will actually start saying words that are useful to you all. But just gonna give it 1 minute. Do you have it up on Facebook, Molly? Perfect. And will someone on Facebook put a thumbs up or anything in the comments to let us know that you can hear me and see me? And in Zoom, if someone could put that in the Q&A, the chat will be closed, but the Q&A is open. So if you can hear me and see me all good, please put that in the Q&A. Thank you, Kim, very much. Do we have confirmation on Facebook? Perfect. Okay. Sorry, all I do have a cough drop to try to not like start coughing on you all at some point. But it is 7:02. So I'm going to go ahead and get started. Welcome everyone to the 2025 Want to Apply webinar for the Retired Racehorse Project's Thoroughbred Makeover. My name is Raina Erasmus. I'm the program manager and co-show secretary for RRP. And I am joined by Molly Hutchison, who is our program assistant and my co-show secretary. So should you apply for the Thoroughbred Makeover, should after this webinar tonight you decide that it is in fact the right fit for you, we are the people you will be dealing with most throughout the year. And I will go right ahead and let you know that should you have any questions after this webinar, anytime between now and the makeover and even after the makeover, the best way to get in touch with us is always going to be email, and that's secretary@therrp.org. So secretary@therrp.org. And that is going to be the best way to reach us. We have some hybrid schedules in terms of working from home and working in the office, and we're not always in the office at the same time. So phone call is not the best way to get in contact with us. You can call and leave a voicemail, and we will eventually get back with you. But if you really do want a true response, we're going to ask, and like fast response, we're going to ask that you use that secretary@therrp.org. There's also a contact us form on our website if you forget that email. The email is also on the application form itself and on various places on the website. So anyway, best way to get in contact with us is always going to be email. Even if you do call us, we're probably going to ask you to email us. We like to make sure that we have a written record of everything to make sure we can refer back to that and that you can refer back to that. And I'm sorry for the cat in the background. Right before I started this webinar, he decided it was time to start screaming. So if you hear him scratching on a scratching post or screaming, that is Juice, honorary member of the RRP team. So this is as I said before, the Want to Apply webinar. So whether or not we're going to go over tonight what the makeover is, what it's not, and if it's a good fit for you, and then how to actually apply to participate. There will be time for questions. You can leave your questions in the comments on the Facebook Live and in the Q&A chat here on Zoom. Either way, if you are on Facebook and you've participated in the makeover before, or you are an excellent student and have already read the rulebook top to bottom, I ask that you please do not answer other people's questions. We're going to save the questions for the end. We'll make sure we answer every single question, so you can submit your questions as you have them. We might end up answering them at some point before we get to the Q&A portion of the webinar or not. Either way, ask them as they come. And once we reach the end of the webinar, we will go through each question and give them an answer. So please be patient. And we just ask that you don't answer others' questions before we do, just to make sure that everyone gets the accurate information that they need. So hopefully that is an adequate intro. And I'm going to share my screen. We are going to start with what is the Thoroughbred Makeover. So I could sit here and read this word for you guys, but generally you should know by now that the Thoroughbred Makeover is a retraining competition for recently retired ex-race horses and former broodmares that are leaving the thoroughbred breeding industry. So this you can acquire horses. Some of you might have your horses already, some of you might not. You don't need to have your horses yet to apply for the Thoroughbred Makeover. But essentially, you have a maximum from December until October to train these horses for up to 2 of the 10 disciplines we offer. Those 10 disciplines are listed on our website, but let's see if I can rattle them off for you. So we've got barrel racing, competitive trail, dressage, freestyle, field hunters, polo, show hunters, show jumpers, eventing, and ranch work. I think I got them all without much pause. So there's something for everyone, and you don't need to know what you want to do right now. We'll get into that in a little bit when we talk more about the application. You will select a discipline on the application, but that's more what you hope to do, what you aim to do. That does not lock you into anything. And it's a great opportunity to learn new disciplines as well. So it is a competition that offers $100,000 of prize money. I think we're at 110,000 now with a slight increase thanks to our 2024 Reimagining Racers grant. We have increased the prize money available to the former broodmare division. And so second place is now paid out there. And we're going to get into some of the formats for the retiring racehorse division as well. It is the happiest horse show on earth. That is what many of our competitors refer to us as. It is a competition, yes, but it really is more a celebration of the retraining journey. Everyone that comes to the makeover, you guys have all been through similar trials and tribulations, retraining a green horse for a completely new discipline. And it's a very rewarding process. So people that come to the makeover in October, they're there to share their experience and kind of commiserate and celebrate with one another. So I want to talk a little bit on that note of what is the makeover not. So there's some common misconceptions about the makeover. I guess before I get into that, sorry, backtracking just a little bit. As it says on my screen here, the Thoroughbred Makeover does take place at the Kentucky Horse Park in Lexington. The actual competition dates are October 8th through 11th for 2025, but you should expect to be in Kentucky a couple days before that if you're accounting for the check-in process, arrival exams, schooling days, and some of you might even want to come in a couple days earlier. That's not something you necessarily need to worry about right now, but expect that date as it pertains to you to be more like October 6th through October 12th. But again, that takes place in Kentucky at the Kentucky Horse Park in October every year. The Thoroughbred Makeover is a lot different from the Mustang Makeover. I know a lot of people hear the word makeover, they think we might be very similar in what's required of our participants. So I want to make it very clear to you all that this, if you've participated in the Mustang Makeover before, this is going to be a bit different than what you're familiar with. So I want to make sure everyone is on the right, everyone's on the same page here. So unlike the Mustang Makeover or some forms of the Mustang Makeover, you are required to acquire your horse yourself. We do not supply you with a horse to compete in the makeover with. You will acquire your horse. We'll get into the various ways that you can find a horse that is eligible for the makeover. And that horse is yours to bring up as you please and bring to the makeover in October. You're also not required to sell your horse at the end of the makeover. Many of you might just so have happened to acquire a horse that is makeover eligible, and this is your forever horse, and that is fantastic. Some of you might acquire a horse for the makeover and want to produce them up the levels for a couple years before you decide to sell them. Either way, you are under no obligation to sell your horse before, during, or after the makeover. If that's what you are doing, if this is a way that you're producing your horse in a way that you want to market them, that is fantastic as well. We have professionals that use this as part of their model every year to produce and sell horses or adopt horses out. We have many aftercare facilities that participate as well. And that is great. You can sell your horse. We have a makeover marketplace where we will help you market those horses if that is what you choose to do, but you are under no obligation to sell your horse as part of this process. We know many of you plan on keeping your horses forever, and that's great too. So what the makeover is not as well is a money-making venture. We do offer prize money, and that is a fantastic benefit for many people, but that prize money only pays to 6th place, and then there's some special awards as well. So not everyone's going to go home with a check, and some of you might have like a fantastic upper level prospect right now in your barn, and things might not go according to plan over the next 10 or so months, and you might get to the Kentucky Horse Park, have a bad day, and not get the results you expect. The prize money is never going to unlikely to make up for the cost of the day-to-day of having your horses for the next 10 months. So that's something to keep in mind. For those of you that are selling your horses, we have seen that the makeover process and coming to compete in the event does add excellent value to these horses. So I'm not necessarily talking about that, but it isn't a money-making venture. This is not a profitable event for you all. Maybe some of you are super savvy and it is, but for the majority of us, it is not a money-making venture. And with that too, I want to reiterate that the Thoroughbred Makeover is open to all riders, professionals, amateurs, juniors. We even have a team option, and we'll get into that a little bit more in a minute. But there is a common misconception that everyone that competes in the makeover has to be a professional. This has to be their full-time job, their gig, whatever. That is not true at all. Majority of the people that participate in the makeover are either junior riders or amateurs, and they have a full-time job and they have their thoroughbred that they go ride a couple days a week, and they're aiming to take towards this event. So you certainly don't need to be a professional. This is open to everyone. We're going to get into a little bit like exactly if it is the right fit for you, but I just want to make sure we clear that up as well. And along with it not being a money-making venture, I want to make sure that we are all on the same page that horses are gonna horse and things are gonna happen. So you're gonna need to submit your trainer application ideally in January so you don't accrue a late fee. But the actual event is not until October, and a lot can happen between January and October. Whether that's you get a horse that you're planning on doing eventing and show jumping with in October, and throughout those couple months you have some setbacks, or your horse just tells you, hey, I'm not physically or mentally ready for those disciplines, and you come and do dressage or competitive trail. So you're going to need to be flexible with that mindset and listening to your horse. Or unfortunately, some of you might not make it to October at all. So when you're thinking about filling out the application, I want you all to keep that in mind and be okay with that. If that is not something that you can accept, I would suggest really thinking about that, whether or not this is the right fit for you, because a lot can happen. At the end of the day, we really put an emphasis on horse welfare. So you want to come to the makeover with a horse that is prepared for the environment, prepared for the questions that are going to be asked for them, and is physically ready, sound, healthy, all of those lovely things. And horses do stuff that sometimes makes that really hard to accomplish. So it is very important that when you are hitting that submit button, you keep in mind that you're going to pay your application fees now, and there's a chance that that might not result in you being at the makeover in October. That doesn't take away from your retraining process. Your horse is still a makeover grad. But those are parts of the ups and downs that people will be commiserating with each other in October. So everyone should really keep that in mind and consider what can happen with horses over the next 10 months. And if that's something that you are willing to accept when you hit that submit button, that maybe you won't end up being there with your horse in October. Maybe you won't even put the 15 rides on them and they'll be eligible for next year and you'll take them next year instead. But you're still going to have to go through the application process all over again. So you need to learn to be flexible. It is the happiest horse show on earth, but it comes with some trials and tribulations. So moving on from that, some of the trials and tribulations include what it costs. And I'm going to flip over to our want to apply page here. No, I'm not. I'm going to go over horse eligibility. So we've talked a little bit about what the makeover is and that these are horses that have recently retired from racing or have recently exited the breeding industry. So all of these horses have to meet our eligibility requirements. Those are all listed in our rule book, which we'll get to how to find in a second. They're also on our want to apply page. So if you go to our website, therrp.org, you go to compete and want to apply. I already have a tab open right here. Molly, can you give me a thumbs up if you can see my new tab or not? Cool. Awesome. So on the want to apply page, do we have it listed here? Or is it's on the page I was on before? That's all right. We'll get there. Okay. What horses are eligible to compete? It's on our regular page. It's on our rule book. It's on many different places on our website, and you can also email us if you have any questions. So as I talked about before, we have both the, sorry, my cat is doing cat things again. We have the retiring racehorse division and the former broodmare division. So I'm going to start with the retiring racehorse division, which is our which is our main division. It's our biggest division. The former broodmare division we're so excited about. But the retiring racehorse division is what we are known for and what you're going to be most familiar with. So all horses right off the bat, they have to be registered with the Jockey Club and they have to have a Jockey Club registered microchip. I know this says lip tattoo or microchip. By October, every single horse, maybe they don't have a microchip right now because they are before they came off the track before that was required. By the time you get to the makeover in October, all horses must have a scannable microchip that is registered with the Jockey Club. If you're competing in the retiring racehorse division, they must have last raced or had a published work on July 1st of 2023 or after. So that's the last time they raced or had a published work must be on or after July 1st of 2023. So about a year and a half ago. If you have trouble figuring out when their last published work was, you can email us. We're happy to help you find that. But they do, in fact, need to meet that July 1st date. There are no exceptions to that for the retiring racehorse division. And it cannot be, it has to be a published work. It cannot just be a workout that was not officially recorded. We have to be able to see that through their Equiline past performance report or through Equibase through their recorded workouts. So if you need help finding those, reach out to us. We're happy to help you figure that out. And then the next requirement is that they must not have started training for their second career before December 1st of 2024. So we're on December 19th. At this point, if you guys already have your horses, amazing. You can start training them now if that's something they're ready for. They cannot have been ridden more than 15 times before that December 1st date. So if you got your horse over the summer, from the last time that they raced or had a workout, whether it was you or someone else, they cannot have been sat on more than 15 times between that last race and published work and December 1st of this year. That includes trial rides, assessment rides, anything of the sort. There's a 15 ride maximum before that December 1st date. And that 15 ride maximum is truly meant for trial rides for horses that are with resellers or aftercare facilities, or a couple assessment rides to make sure that the horse that you have is truly the right fit for you and so you can get to know their personality. Those 15 rides before December are not to get a head start on training. The only exemption to the 15 ride limit is tack walking as part of a veterinary prescribed injury rehabilitation plan. That does require a vet letter explaining the rehab and the prescription of the tack walking. And there's more information about that in their rule book. What's not on this webpage, but is in our rule book, is that horses cannot have competed just like within those 15 rides that they did before December 1st. Horses are not allowed to have attended a competition other than racing before December 1st of 2024. Again, after December 1st, all bets are off. You guys can ride your horses and show your horses as much as they want, and as you want, as much as is best for them. But before December 1st, horses are not allowed to have participated in any form of competition. And we do go in greater detail in the rule book what we define to be a competition. So that is anything that has either been marketed as a show, even if it's, you know, a schooling show, an at-home show, if it was marketed as a show, if show is in show or competition or any language like that is in the name of the event, that counts as a competition. If they issued bridle numbers, if they, I'll just pull it up. How about that? Let's do that here so that I make sure I'm giving you all the best information. Okay, scrolling a little bit through the rule book here. Hopefully you all will get very familiar with that. Here we go. So, where did that go? Why am I not finding it, Molly? I know it's right in front of
Very
me.
bottom, the last line.
Ah, there we go. Okay. For the purposes of the makeover, an event is considered a competition if it meets publicly marketed as a competition or show, they issue placings, they issue scores, they issue competitor numbers, or they require the participants to follow a predetermined course or pattern. So if your horse is participating in an event that meets any of that criteria before December 1st, they are unfortunately not eligible to compete in the makeover. That's something that's very important to keep in mind. So that about goes over the eligibility for the retiring racehorse division. For the former broodmare division, again, they're going to need to be Jockey Club registered, and by October, they're going to need to have that Jockey Club registered microchip. That's not something they need to have right now, but they will need to have it before they get to the event. They need to have either foaled or have a reported cover by a Jockey Club registered stallion in the 2023 or 2024 breeding season. So that's going to have to be reported to the Jockey Club. That's going to, again, have to be something that we're going to be able to pull proof of. So they're going to either have needed to fold a horse that is by a Jockey Club stallion, registered stallion, or have a reported cover of a Jockey Club registered stallion within the last 2 breeding seasons. Again, if you have questions about how to obtain that information, if your horse is indeed eligible for the former broodmare division, you can contact us and we're happy to figure that out for you all. They just need to have 1 lifetime start or published work. At some point in their racing career, they must have at least raced once or had a published work on the books. We can help you pull that because that's going to be outside the limit that you're going to be able to see on Equibase. So you're going to have to pull that report through Equine Line if it's a published work and not a race. And if you don't know how to do that yourself, we're happy to help you do it. But it doesn't have to meet that within July 1st deadline. It's just any time in their racing career, there needs to be proof that they either raced or had a published work at some point in time. Unlike the retiring racehorse division as well, there is no 15 ride limit. So we understand that with some of the broodmares, they might have been trail riding during their breeding career before they moved on to their third career as a sport horse. So we don't impose a 15 ride limit on them. However, just like the retiring racehorses, they cannot have attended a show or competed in any sport other than racing before December 1st of 2024. So that is the horse eligibility criteria. And like I've said a couple times now, you don't need to have your horse yet. Maybe you do, and that's great. That's also absolutely allowed. Horse registrations close July 29th, and we'll get into that a bit more, but you have plenty of time to find your horse. So if you're someone that's shopping for a horse that likely meets the criteria, you're looking for a horse that's recently retired from racing or recently exited the breeding industry, but you haven't found your horse yet, that's okay. You can still apply to the makeover and you'll have plenty of time to find the right horse for you. If you've already found your horse, amazing. You can start working with them now. and you may also apply for the makeover. So moving on to what does the makeover cost? And this is a big question, right? Because I can tell you what the fees are going to cost. I can't tell you how much it's going to cost you to keep your horse from now until October. So that's something to consider. It's not only board and vet fees and farrier fees and lesson fees, but you need to prepare your horse for a big event. So taking your horse off property often to clinics, to shows, to make sure they're prepped for this environment. You have to keep that in mind and keep in mind the setbacks and what those might cost you. But focusing in on the fees themselves, when you all hit submit on your application, if you're applying as an individual or a team captain, or a team member, everyone is going to pay a $200 application fee. You pay that once per year. That's per person. It's not per horse. So you can be an individual bringing 3 horses. That application fee is still $200 flat. Same with team captains, same with team members. Now, if you're an individual or team captain, you're also going to pay a horse registration fee. That's $150 per horse. Team members, you don't pay for the horse registration fee. That's the responsibility of your team captain. You will not be charged that at time of application submission. So the total there, if you're bringing 1 horse, is going to be $350. That's a $200 application fee and $150 horse registration fee. So if you're bringing 2 horses, you're going to add another $150 to that. You can bring up to 3 horses. Every person participating in the makeover can be associated with a maximum of 3 horses that year. And that can be a combination of entry types. So you can be bringing 1 individual horse, 1 team captain horse, and be on your friend's team as a team member with another horse. That's 3. That's your total. You cannot bring any more horses than that. You don't want to. It will be a very, very busy week, and you will not be able to assign your ride times appropriately either. Again, if you're a team member, you're going to hit submit. The only thing that you owe in January is the $200 application fee. We have this lovely fee breakdown on our website on the want to apply page. So I highly recommend that you all look at this and you look at the rule book as well, which breaks down all the fees. So if you apply in January, likely what you're going to owe is somewhere around $350. That's going to depend on if you're applying as an individual or team captain or as a team member and how many horses you're bringing. Then once we get to August, we have our final entry fees, and they are broken down here as well. We did have to increase our stabling fee from $225 to $255 this year. So your first discipline fee is $150. If you're stabling your horse at the horse park, that's $255 per stall. If you decide to do a second discipline, that's $100 for the second discipline. If you decide to list the horse in the marketplace, again, that's another optional fee. That's going to be $50 to $60. If you want additional stalls or tax stalls, $255 per. Those are all optional. But if you do make it to the final entry, you will likely be paying at least the first discipline fee and at least for 1 stall. Some of you might stable off-site, in which case you will be paying a ship-in fee, which is much less than that. And I don't remember it off the top of my head, something like $60. But if not, you're likely paying for a stall at the horse park. So that's something to keep in mind. The base cost for 1 year for 1 horse, if you're one person bringing 1 horse as an individual, it's likely going to cost you about $755 in entry fees, all said and done. But what you should be prepared to pay for in January is about $350. But with that is we have some lovely incentives that can help cover these costs for you all. So whether you've acquired your horse yet or not, maybe this will be applicable to you. We have a wonderful new program this year, our scholarship program with the ASPCA Right Horse Scholarship. So if you acquire your horse from an ASPCA Right Horse adoption organization, and we have the link on our website here that shows you that there's New Vocation, Second Stride, Second Chance, Win Place Home, many organizations like that have eligible horses that are available for adoption are eligible for this scholarship. So if you adopt a horse from one of those organizations that's eligible for the 2025 Thoroughbred Makeover and you register them for the makeover, they are eligible for a scholarship that is a minimum value of $405. So once you get to the final entry period, if your horse is selected for the scholarship, you will receive a $405 discount code to use at final entry. So that will cover at least your first stall and your first discipline and one stall. It's for up to 50 horses. And it's a first come, first serve type deal. So there's no essay or any application period as long as you register your horse for the Thoroughbred Makeover and you accurately report that you have acquired them from one of the right horse facilities, your horse will automatically be eligible for this scholarship. And the sooner you register your right horse with us through the application process, the more likely they are to receive that scholarship funding. There is some high priority criteria. So horses that are former broodmares, cribbers, required rehab at the time of their adoption, or have career limitations, maybe to flat only or small jumps only, something like that. Those horses will have high priority to receive that scholarship funding. And after that, if we have, more spots left in that 50 horse cap, that will go to the other horses that are eligible for this scholarship by order of when they completed the registration form. So it's important that if you do have a horse that qualifies for this scholarship, that once you hit submit on your application and you already have that horse, go ahead and register them as soon as possible. That's super important. But this is such a great opportunity for you all to get a break on your entry fees and give a horse a really good home. So I highly recommend looking into the different adoption facilities that meet this criteria and seeing if they have a horse that's the right fit for you. We do even have some of the horses that are eligible for this scholarship listed on our own website. So if you go to horse listings, you can either just hit horse listings and look at all of them. You'll see some future prospects that maybe aren't eligible for the scholarship, but they're eligible for the makeover. If you hit Makeover Scholarship Program and hit View Scholarship Listings, you'll just get a list of horses that are eligible for that for the ASPCA Right Horse Scholarship. So I highly recommend taking a look there, seeing if there's a horse that's the right fit for you, and finding a way to get a break on your entry fees if this is a process that you really want to participate in. We also have a list of makeover incentives on our website. So these are a bunch of different, some of them are breeding farms, some of them are resellers, aftercare facilities that also offer incentives if you bring a horse that from their organization or program. So for example, we have After the Finish Line. For all California breds, they're going to cover $575 of your final entry fees. There's a lot of different ones listed here. So New Vocations, for example, this is one that you could stack both the ASPCA Right Horse Scholarship and the New Vocations incentive. So if you adopt a horse from New Vocations is going to reimburse you for that $350 registration fees that you pay upon application submission, your $200 application fee and your $150 horse registration fee. So if you adopt from New Vocations, you might not pay a cent in entry fees at all. So that's something to think about, how you can stack the different incentives on top of each other. But this is a great list to look through and see if there's someone here that you'd like to shop for a horse through and get, again, a break on your entry fees. Let's see here. All right, so we've gone over incentives, what the makeover is, what it isn't. Now we're going to go to actually applying for the makeover. Every single person, whether you've done the makeover before or not, has to submit what we call a trainer application. That is the very first step to being able to participate in the Thoroughbred Makeover. We have this lovely want to apply page on our website that has some things for you guys to consider if this is the right event for you. And we have a lot of amazing resources. This is the place that I'm going to encourage all of you to go, whether you've competed in the makeover before or not. Things change a bit every single year. So, and really read this page top to bottom. Make sure you understand what's going to be required of you. The rule book is our #1 resource. Seriously, read top to bottom if you've never done the makeover before. If you have done the makeover before and you are familiar with the rule book, what I would recommend is scrolling through the rule book and looking for anything in red or blue, because that's going to indicate either changes or clarifications from the previous year. We do have some changes this year from last year. One very exciting change that we have is we are moving away from the finale format to a championship format. So in previous years, the top 5 horses from every single discipline were invited back for the finale, where they all competed in the covered arena in front of all of our judges from all 10 disciplines, and on a clean slate. So they were for the core prize money. So if you were in the top 5 for show jumping, you came in at 5th place, come into the covered arena, all 5 of you from show jumping would compete, and you had a chance to move up from 5th place to 1st place. And that was the finale. We have now moved on to the championship format, where instead of everyone coming back to the covered arena, we're inviting back the top 10. So we're going to have double the horses that are eligible to participate in this. The top 10 horses are going to be invited back to what is most likely the same venue that they participated in for prelim competition, with some variances for some of the disciplines, but they're not all going to have to go back to the covered arena, which we know can be challenging for some horses. So double the horses in environments that are likely much more friendly to them than the covered arena. And we will now be giving prize money through 6th place. It's still on a clean slate. So if you come into the finale, into the championship and 10th place, you have the opportunity to move up to 1st place. What we will not have by having the championship format is we will not have an overall winner anymore. So in the finale format, all the 1st place winner from every single discipline came back and the judges voted which one would be the overall winner. Because these are all happening in their own venues rather than happening in the covered arena, there's going to be some overlap. The judges are not going to be able to watch every single horse, so we will not be having an overall winner anymore. However, that has allowed us to increase the prize money. That overall winner prize money, that $10,000 that was given to the overall winner, has been redistributed to the 1st through 6th place prize money. So you will still be walking home with hopefully a nice check if you do in fact make it into the championship. We did not offer it this year, and we will not be offering it next year. The finale or championship format is, as it'll be in 2025, will not be live streamed. So just to make sure to go over the major changes of this year is we are switching from the finale format to the championship format. We're very excited to be able to invite double the horses back and offer more prize money. So that's fantastic. What you should really look for in this rulebook is look at our code of conduct and look at the discipline formats. So this is not your average horse show, as we've talked about. This is a retraining competition, and a lot of the formats for the disciplines are going to be different than what you're used to at a standard horse show. Every single one of our disciplines is judged, which is not traditional for some of them in their normal horse show environment, right? In barrel racing, it's just timed. In show jumping, a lot of the time, it's just timed. But at the Thoroughbred Makeover, the discipline formats are a bit different. So when you're considering if this is the right fit for you, go ahead and look at the discipline format in the rule book, read it, make sure that that's something that you're willing to do before you apply, because it is going to be very different. And you also want to make sure that you're preparing your horse for the way that our disciplines are formatted. So that's the rule book. There's so much in here. Like I said, you can just look at the table of contents here. Rule changes, participant code of conduct, how to file protests, what the prize money and distribution is, special awards, horse eligibility, trainer eligibility, all that fun stuff. This is your holy grail. So make sure that you pay tons of attention to the rule book. And if once you've looked it up and down and you still have questions, that's when you go ahead and you email us. So back to our want to apply page. Let's see here. The application period, just to go over it, we'll go over it a couple times during this webinar. Applications are open for drafting right now, so you can log on to our website, create an account, and you can look at the application. You can fill it out and save it, but you can't submit it yet. Starting January 6th, that's when the application window officially opens. You'll be able to hit that submit button, pay those fun entry fees, and we will send your application off to the committee for review. That period will close on January 24th. After January 24th, late application submissions are open. So if you submit your application after January 24th, or if you do not fulfill all your application requirements before January 24th, there will be a $100 late fee, and late applications are going to be accepted until June 27th. So if, as we talk about the application process, you realize that I don't have the appropriate videos yet, and I'm not going to have them before January 24th, you absolutely still can apply. We will have late applications open until late June. So you've got, I mean, at this point, it's about 7 months. Ideally, you'll be able to get everything in before January 24th and save yourself that $100 late fee. So let's see here. Okay, so looking at some of these resources here, we've gone over the 2025 rulebook. If you want to look, if you hit this makeover videos button here, it'll take you to a playlist where you'll see videos from past competitions, so you can get a feel for the format. You'll see all kinds of fun videos about the makeover. You'll see previous webinars. This info webinar right here will link you to last year's version of tonight's webinar. But after tonight, we will be updating that link. This webinar is being recorded, and you'll be able to watch that here. We're going to get to this video guide in a second because this is hugely important. But before we get there, some of the basic components of your application, you're going to need to be prepared to get into detail about your riding experience and some personal narrative. You're going to need to provide 2 references. These are personal references that can speak to your riding ability and horsemanship. These are not family members, and it's not anyone that is employed by you. So this is likely going to be your barn manager, your trainer, your other trainer if you have multiple, maybe a barn friend, anyone that can truly speak to your riding ability and horsemanship. This is not likely to be your farrier, someone who might be able to speak to your horse care but can't speak to your riding. And it's not going to be your friend that doesn't know anything about horses either. And it's not going to be your mom. So make sure you have 2 references. They don't need to submit any sort of letter or anything for you at this time, but they need to be prepared that the application committee might call them as a reference. So make sure you talk to your barn manager, your trainer, and ask them if they're prepared to act as a reference for you for this event. You're going to need videos. We're going to touch on that in a bit. And then you're going to need a vet letter recommendation. This is going to be different from those 2 personal references that we just talked about. So your equine veterinarian, this needs to be a practicing equine veterinarian, needs to write a letter for you. It's a very simple letter. We have a sample of it here. See if that'll pull up for you. It needs to be signed, dated, and on letterhead. Just needs to state that your vet believes that you have the knowledge and resources to properly care for a horse that's retired from racing and transitioning into their second career. That's all it has to say. It doesn't need to be written for a specific horse. It doesn't need to talk about your riding or training capabilities. It just needs to be your vet saying that they believe that you have the resources and knowledge to care for a horse that's transitioning into a new career. You need to provide a new vet letter every year. So if you've participated in the past, whether it was last year or 5 years ago, you're going to need to provide a new letter. That's why this letter needs to be dated. It shouldn't have been written any earlier than like after the makeover this past year. So basically from November of 2024 until whenever you submit your application date. That's when that letter should be dated. Should be dated for the 2025 Thoroughbred Makeover. It's got to be signed by your vet. It's got to have your vet's contact information on it in the form of a letterhead. It doesn't necessarily need to be as fancy as this. If it's just all in the signature, that's okay too, but it needs to be signed, dated, and on letterhead. So make sure you have talked to your vets about that and see that they're prepared to write that letter for you or that they can write it now. Now we're going to get into the videos. This is I really cannot stress enough how important solid videos are to a good application. We're going to talk about our video guide here. Again, this is accessible to you all on the website, and I recommend that you all open this guide when you're thinking about applying and make sure that you have videos that will meet the requirements. If you don't, we're not going to be able to pass your application on to the committee for review. So we have there is a committee. It is not staff members. You have to remember that this is a group of people that likely don't know who you are, and they need to be able to see that you will be able to demonstrate safely. My cat is now getting the back of my chair. that you will be able to demonstrate safely the minimum that's going to be required of you at the makeover. These videos shouldn't be taken on your makeover horse. In fact, they should be taken on a well-schooled horse that's going to best show off your riding. We don't want to see you on green horses. We don't want to see you on your makeover hopeful. If you don't have a horse of your own, find a quality lesson horse. Reach out to your community, see if you can take a couple lessons. But everyone at bare minimum is going to need to submit a flat video. Then you're going to need to submit a discipline video. And if you're jumping, you're going to need to submit a jumping video. So our basic video requirements, all of them have to be taken within 2 years of application submission. So if you submit your video on January 6th of 2024, your video cannot have been taken any earlier than January 6th of 2022. Sorry, we're talking about 2025. So if you submit your application on January 6th of 2025, it cannot have been taken any earlier than January 6th of 2023. That is very important. We don't want videos from 5 years ago. A lot can change. And we're not looking for perfect riding here, but we do need to be able to accurately assess. The committee has to be able to accurately assess where your riding is at this current moment. The videos have to be accessible via a link that does not expire. It doesn't require the viewer to log in to view the video or require the viewer to download a file. So sometimes like something like iCloud, if you send us a link, it's going to require that the person then downloads the video file in order to view that. The platforms that we recommend are YouTube and Vimeo. You can upload it to YouTube or Vimeo as unlisted so that people can access it with a link, but not anyone on YouTube can just see your riding video. That's perfectly fine. If you don't want it to be publicly accessible, it doesn't have to be, but it can't be set to whatever setting it would be where if you send someone the link, it then requires them to log in. Like I've said, we have an application selection committee and we do keep their identities private. And we're not going to allow anything that would require them to log in with their name, give any of their details. So it needs to be something that can be very simply accessed by a link. Again, YouTube or Vimeo are going to be your best bets. The application does not allow for you to upload a video file. So if you need help with that, you can contact us. We're happy to help you walk through that, or find a friend or family member that can help walk you through uploading that to YouTube or Vimeo. But don't open your application expecting to be able to drop in a large video file. That's not something that we can take. Like I talked about, your videos need to be taken on a well-schooled horse. The application review committee is going to be assessing your riding skills. So it's really important that you choose a mount that best complements your riding. And the horses that are used in your video are expected to be sound, in good body condition, and capable of performing at the level that you're asking them in that video. So please make sure you choose a suitable amount. That's super important, and it's going to make a big difference to the committee when they're watching your videos. This might seem silly, but your videos should be filmed horizontally, not vertically. When you film your videos vertically, it tends to like cut off part of the horse or the rider, and it makes it very difficult to view. So it should be filmed horizontally, and the horse and rider should be in full view. Helmet cameras, GoPros, or POV type videos, they are not acceptable. Neither are pictures or video stills or slideshows. These need to be true videos of you and the horse riding where we can see you riding. Helmet camera does not help the committee assess your riding at all or see what the fences are that you're jumping or anything like that. So that type of POV is not acceptable and does not meet the requirements. Nor are pictures. We don't accept pictures. It has to be videos. They can be taken in any setting that's appropriate for the task. So you can be at home, schooling. That might be in a field. Maybe you don't have an arena. That's fine. You can be off property. You can be at a competition, in a clinic, in a lesson, whatever is the appropriate setting to show the requirements that are needed for your videos. So like I said, every single applicant is going to have to submit a flat video, and that flat video is going to have to show the rider at walk, trot, canter, or walk, jog, lope in both directions. The walk doesn't need to be extensively shown. We get this every year where someone submits a flat video and it's like 2 whole minutes of them walking. We don't need to see that. The walk really just needs to be demonstrated as a means of transitioning between gaits. So the trot and canter, or jog and lope, need to be shown far more extensively than the walk, and those 2 gaits should be taking up most of the video length. We do want to see you demonstrate both upward and downward transitions between gaits in those videos. You don't need to show every single transition, but there should be at least one of every single transition type on camera in that flat video. So that's at least one walk to trot, one trot to canter, one canter to trot, and one trot to walk. So you've got all your basic upward and downward transitions covered. You can snip, make little cuts here and there, that's fine. We don't need to see every single one. So if you had maybe a not so good trot to canter transition to the right and you want to cut that out, that's okay. But if your transition to the left was better, you should keep that in. We're going to want to see at least one of those transitions. And you should utilize the space that the video is filmed in. So if you are in an arena, make sure that you're trotting and cantering along the long sides of the arena and on a circle. A lot of times we'll get videos where people are constantly on a 20-meter circle. That's very difficult to assess. So please use your whole arena. You can do some long sides and some circles. It's okay if you do circle. That's perfectly fine. It's okay if you show your change of direction, all that, but we don't want to see you remain on a constant small circle. That's very difficult for the committee to assess. Your flat video demonstrating all of the requirements for a sufficient period of time is likely going to be about 2 minutes long. We've seen shorter, we've seen longer, but 2 minutes should accurately cover showing all 3 gaits in both directions with transitions included. Some applicants might find it easiest to come up with a flat pattern, maybe pick a dressage test, maybe pick the barrel racing flat pattern or the show jumping flat pattern and demonstrate that. And you can show that with all the required movements, and that'll make sure that you don't miss anything. So a video of a dressage test, like I just said, would demonstrate all of the required movements. Again, this video guide is super helpful. It breaks down every discipline. If you select that as your intended discipline on your makeover application, everyone requires a flat video. It'll let you know if that discipline requires a jumping video, and then what the discipline specific video for that discipline would look like, and some additional information as well. If you apply for a jumping discipline, or you think you might want to jump, but you apply for dressage, you're going to want to submit a jumping video. The jumping video has to show you, again, within 2 years, showing a full course of fences, that's at least 8 fences or more, that are all 2'6" or higher. If you do not show a video that shows that, you'll receive an automatic jumping restriction. If you don't have that video right now, that's okay. You could submit your flat video and whatever other required videos, and you will receive that jumping restriction upon application exception. And you will have until June 27th to submit updated video that meets the jumping requirements. So if you don't have the jumping video right now, that's okay, but you will need at bare minimum that flat video. And let's see. And with that, we talked a little bit about how you're not locked into your discipline. My biggest suggestion to you all is to apply based off of what you think you want to do and what you have the current experience and video to do. So if you want to do dressage and ranch work, but you don't have any ranch work experience at this time, that's something that you plan on gaining with your makeover horse, go ahead and indicate that you're going to you plan to participate in dressage on your application. Make that your discipline selection. You can only select one on the application anyway. That way you only have to show dressage videos. They're not going to be looking for the ranch videos right now. And if you do end up wanting to apply for ranch later, you can ping us, let us know, and you'll supply the videos at that time. So make sure you select on your application the discipline that you are currently prepared for applying to. Again, it doesn't lock you in. You can select dressage on your application and then get to August and decide you want to do competitive trail and freestyle. And there's nothing stopping you from doing that. That's perfectly okay. Just know that if you do select a discipline that differs from your application, if you don't have the video to back it up, the committee might ask that you submit additional video. They might not. As long as it's not a jumping video, you will not be able to select a jumping discipline until you've submitted the appropriate jumping video. But in terms of our flat disciplines, you are never locked in. If you select eventing on your application, you're not going to be automatically entered in eventing. You will select your disciplines in August. You have plenty of time. That discipline selection you make on your application is purely based on what you think you want to do, whether you think it's what your horse is the best fit for, what you're the best fit for, and that might change. Your horse might not be ready to jump, or you might decide, you know what, I've started doing obstacle work and this is amazing. I'm gonna dabble in some competitive trail, whatever it might be. Might even be polo. You're not locked into what you choose on your application, but your application discipline selection does determine which committee member it goes to. We have a bunch of amazing committee members. They all specialize in certain disciplines. They are assigned to applications to review based on the disciplines they have experience in. So they're going to be looking. If you apply for barrel racing, obviously they're going to be looking for your flat video. They're also going to be looking to see videos of you running barrels. If you apply for eventing, they're going to be looking for dressage, stadium, and cross-country videos. And they're going to know how to assess those videos. So your application determines what's going to be looked at application submission. It does not determine what you end up entering in at the actual event. So now we're going to move on to the application itself. Hopefully we have sufficiently looked at all of our materials here. And again, I highly recommend you revisit the rulebook and the video guide and the want to apply page. Now, once it's time to apply, you're going to go ahead to my account, Thoroughbred Makeover, and your portal is going to look a little bit different from mine. You should only see this My Application, Open up My Application button. And once we hit January, there will also be a checklist that lets you know if you've submitted your application, paid your fees, submitted your vet reference, and signed your waiver. That's not here yet because we're in the drafting stage. Either way, this is what your portal is going to look like. You're going to hit Open My Application, and it's going to take you to the application form. Tonight, I'm not going to sit here and go through this step by step with you all. I'm just going to hit on some of the important points. But obviously, make sure that all of your basic information here is correct. If it's not, you'll want to contact us to get that switched. Date of birth is going to determine junior versus amateur or professional, so make sure that's correct. If you have a social media page or a business that you would like people to know about, once you're accepted, we will have an entries list and you can link to that. So you can include the link to your social media page or your business page, whatever it is here. Important thing that you answer correctly is, in the last 12 months, have you been compensated in any way for riding, training, or giving lessons? And remember that that includes any type of riding or lessons. If you are an exercise rider and you're compensated for that, that counts. Any type of compensation counts, including reduced board or product. So if you answer yes to that and you are above the age of 18, you are going to be a professional. Even if you might not be a professional in your sport normally, for the sake of the makeover, you would be a professional. If you have not been compensated in the last 12 months for riding, training, or given lessons, you're going to answer no. And either you're going to keep your junior status if you're under the age of 18, or you're going to be signed the amateur status for the makeover. This is going to ask you questions. The discipline that we've talked about, this is the selected discipline that you are most likely to compete at this year's Thoroughbred Makeover. Again, this is not final. You may elect to compete in a different discipline at the event. So I have selected eventing. You all are going to select whatever you think you want to do. And then it's going to ask you some questions about how long you've been riding, all that fun stuff. Again, I'm not going to go through each one, but if you do have any primary governing bodies, please include that information. It's helpful for the committee to look up some show results and get a feeling for what you've been doing. Right here, we have a section for list any equine related affiliations, certifications, license, memberships, etc. So once this is going to be stuff that might not be covered in other portions of the application. So an example here, I've been volunteering at insert name of therapeutic riding center since 2020 to help with barn chores and exercising therapy horses. I was an IEA member in high school on name of IEA team and competed up to X level from this year to this year, all that fun stuff. So then you're going to get to the more of the riding narrative portion. And here is where you're going to check any type of riding in which you have significant experience in. So if you've been fox hunting one time, or you've taken a barrel racing lesson one time and you don't intend on doing anything in the makeover, you likely don't need to check that box. But if you have sufficient experience in it, something you're interested in, or if you think it'll just help supply the committee with some useful information about your riding, go ahead and select that box. So I've selected dressage, hunters, jumpers, eventing, and fox hunting. And recreation, riding, and trail. And for every box you select, it's going to populate a riding narrative form that you have to fill out. So again, I'm not going to necessarily sit here and read all of this to you guys, but what I am going to do is give you some pointers for filling this out. I have screened a lot of applications over the years. Molly and I look at every application when it comes in, make sure it has the basic requirements, and then we go ahead and move it on to the committee for them to review. And my biggest tip to you all is to keep the information that you put in this narrative section recent and relevant. So if you want to let us know how long you've been training in a certain discipline, that's great. Give us the year rather than the length of time. So I began taking dressage lessons in 2020 rather than I've been, taking dressage lessons for 20 years or however it might be. Give us the year that you started in that discipline. That's fine. After that, we want to know about recent experience. So if you've been doing hunter jumpers for the last 30 years, we don't want to know about the derby that you did 20 years ago. We want to know about the 2-6 class that you did last year. We want to know what you're currently training in. So say I began seriously taking dressage lessons in 2020. I am taking weekly lessons with this trainer, and I occasionally clinic with this person and this person. I'm schooling this level. I'm competing at this level. I am working on this movement, and my most recent accomplishment is nailing my flying lead change, something like that. And then giving some actionable, like true information of if you have competition experience, like I went to this show on this date and I placed this out of this many people, or I scored this on my dressage test. That all should be recent, relevant information. It should be detailed, but we don't necessarily want like a fluffy narrative of, I did hunter derbies 20 years ago and I love the sport and stuff that's all, I hate to call it fluff, but fluff. And isn't super relevant to right now. Let the committee know what it is you're doing right now, how you're training in that discipline, how often you're riding in that discipline, what you're working on, what you're working towards. Like, I'm currently competing at training level, but I'm really hoping to I'm really hoping to move up to first level by X date. Tell us about the horses that you ride currently in that discipline, all that fun stuff. I will be posting eventually on our Want to Apply page an example application, and I'm going to just sit here for a minute and expand all of these so you guys can take a minute to read them as an example of what our committee is going to want to see in these sections. Again, recent and relevant is the key here. So I'm just going to do a slow scroll. So if you can go back to the recording and pause it. But again, my plan is to upload some screenshots to that Want to Apply page to have an example application for you all to look at. We have our personal narrative section here. So this is please tell us about any additional applicable experience that isn't sufficiently documented above. If you were feeling the need to get fluffy above, this is where you can get fluffy. You can tell us how long you've been riding, why you're so passionate about riding. Here I put that I don't come from a family of equestrians, that I haven't had the opportunity to lease, own, or seriously compete until I was a full-fledged adult. I talk about my horse that I have now, how much I love him, what types of horses I like, anything that you don't feel like you were sufficiently able to convey to the committee, but you feel is relevant for them gathering a good understanding about your riding experience and why the Thoroughbred Makeover is likely a good fit for you. That's where you're going to want to put there. Why you want to enter the Thoroughbred Makeover, that's a pretty personal question. I'm not going to tell you how to answer that, but answer it how you may. And it doesn't need to be lengthy. It might just be like, it sounds fun. I want to do it. And that's fine. This question gets a lot of people stuck. Do you currently or plan to work with a trainer or professional during your makeover process? If so, who and how frequently? Is anyone else helping you along the way? Please provide the names and explain the roles of those involved in your preparation for the Thoroughbred Makeover. There is a misconception that people think that we want you to answer no to this, that we want you to tell us that you're doing it all on your own. And that couldn't be further from the truth. Whether you're a professional, junior, or amateur, we want to know that you have a support system. Ideally, that support system is not only in the form of family members and friends that are going to be cheering you along the way, but professionals that are going to be there to guide you in this retraining process. None of us are above learning. I'm going to put that pretty bluntly. We want to see that you're taking lessons with trainers in your disciplines of choice. We want to see that you're planning on going to clinics. So tell us how often you're planning. If you are going to be, answer this question honestly, if you are going to be taking lessons, tell us with who and how often, what you're going to be working on. If you're going to clinicians, maybe you don't have access to a consistent trainer in the area, and that's fine, but you're like, oh, I'm going to go take a clinic with Boyd Martin, you know, he's coming out to my area in a couple months and I'm going to go do that. And I'm going to get out when I can, but I don't have whatever your situation is, be honest about it. But there is no rules against you working with professionals. You can have someone put training rides on your horse. You can take lessons with your horse. That is all allowed and encouraged. We want to know that you're not in it alone. So also saying that you're working closely with a vet and a farrier and you have your friends that are very supportive of your process. All that stuff we want to know. We want to make sure that you've got a support system to fall back on. And you have someone who can tell you when maybe you need to take a step back if you need to take a step back. So think about that. The only rule regarding training is that starting on July 31st or after July 31st, you have to be the primary rider of your horse. That still means that you can have training rides, you can still take lessons, you can still do all that stuff. But if your horse is getting ridden, let's say 5 days a week, then at least 3 of those days that horse needs to be ridden by you, the makeover trainer. The other 2 can be ridden by a different professional or a professional if you're a junior or an amateur. But again, the committee is going to be looking at this to fall back on. So very important to let us know what help you're getting. And this is not a trick question. We are not telling you to answer no or that you answer yes. We're going to be like, gotcha, that's against the rules. Not at all. We want to know who your support system is and what kind of support you're getting. Describe your intended training and preparation process. This is going to look different for everyone. I've got a long answer here that I'm not going to read for you guys, but just go over what your plan is. We know that that plan is unlikely to pan out exactly as you hope it will because horses are going to horse, but you know, tell us what you plan on doing the first couple months and how you plan on progressing to get to the point of them being ready for what's required of them at the makeover, not only in their discipline, but for the environment of the makeover. So how often do you plan on getting them off property? What kinds of shows and clinics do you want to take them to prepare them for the environment? All that kind of stuff, what you're going to do to build their endurance. Just give us a breakdown of that. It doesn't have to be this long, but if it is, awesome. And that's going to look different for everyone. The references we've already talked about. These are 2 people that can speak to your riding ability and your horsemanship. This is not your vet. That's a separate recommendation. It has to be 2 people. Give us their first and last name, their email, their phone number, and their relationship to you. So I have my dressage trainer and my barn owner are going to be my references here, but I'm not going to provide you their information on a public webinar. So make sure you list 2 people here and you provide us with all of that information. So we know if the committee has to contact these references, what their relationship is to you, and that we have a way to get in contact with them. If you just give us their name, we don't know how to reach them. All right. And then the videos. We've already gone over that in detail. There's more information here about that. I'm not going to tell you what to submit, but a little bit about how to submit it. So again, we've discussed it has to be accessible by link. You're going to copy and paste that link right here, and that's the first field for each type of these, for each video type. So paste your link in here, and then you're going to select the date that it was filmed. If you're sending us a video compilation for your flat video, so you're showing us you riding multiple different horses, which is perfectly fine, I would suggest selecting the date filmed as the oldest date in that compilation. So if it's a compilation of 2 different rides and one ride is from 3 months ago and one ride is from yesterday, the date the video was filmed was 3 months ago. And then in your flat description, you can go ahead and break it out and say, 3 months ago, I was riding this horse, and this is what this horse is like. So this is what this video description is for. They want to know a little bit about what the horse is like. You know, are they quirky? What are their quirks? Are they green? Are they super well schooled? Ideally, they are. Let us know, what is this horse a dressage horse? Is it a hunter horse? Is it a barrel racer? Give us some basic information on the horse and how familiar are you with that horse? Is that horse your horse and you've been riding them 5 days a week for the last 5 years? Or is this a lesson horse that you're hopping on for the first or third time? That's important information for the committee. Were they lazy? Were they forward? All that is good information for the committee when they're assessing their videos. So if it's a compilation of multiple flat videos, you can say, first video on bay horse was taken X time and then followed by video description. Second video on gray horse was taken on X time, followed by video description. Jump video, you're going to do the same thing. That's unlikely to be a compilation, but it can be. Follow the same format for the video description and the date filmed. Discipline video, same exact thing. There is a spot for an extra video here if you want to supply that. So if you have a fun video of you on your makeover horse that doesn't meet the requirements because you're on your makeover horse, but it's like, oh, look, here I am, one of my first rides, I'm introducing him to ground pulse, and you want to include that with the committee so they can get a feel for what your makeover horse is like, amazing, you can do that. If you have a video of some groundwork and you want for the committee to see that, you can include that there too. So we do have a spot for extra videos if there's stuff that you want the committee to see. When I talk about compilations, please don't supply us with a link to a video playlist, and please don't supply us with a compilation that meets the video requirements for both your flat and your discipline video, or flat, jump, and discipline. Those should be separate links. We should have one link for your flat video, one link for your discipline video, and one link for your jump video if you are supplying one. So like I said, I've selected eventing. So it is supplying me with a flat video selection, which all of you will get, a jump video selection, which you will only get if you select a jumping discipline, and a discipline video selection, which you all will get, and the extra video. So if you are applying for dressage, but you do want to have that jumping video restriction lifted, you can put that in the extra video section. But for me, as an eventer, I'm probably going to put a link to a dressage video in my flat video, a link to a show jumping video for my jump video, and a link to some cross-country schooling for my discipline video. And then I have some fun, goofy bareback video, and I want to put that in my extra video. I'm going to toss that in there. So I think, let's see, that about covers the video section. Again, if you're going to do compilations, make sure it's relevant to the specific video section that you're uploading in. We don't want one giant 15-minute long video that the committee has to sort through, and we don't want a link to a playlist on YouTube. Please make sure each video type has its own link, and that's a link to a singular video. Just makes it easier for everybody. Then you have your vet recommendation letter upload section. We've already talked about what the vet recommendation letter looks like. You'll upload that here. If you don't have it at time of application submission, there will be a place to upload it in the portal as well. But ideally, you will have it at time of application submission. Then it's going to ask you some questions of if we can send you text messages. Please select yes. A lot of the times we can't reach you from email. Our emails get to your spam, whatever it is. And we're trying to let you know that you're about to miss the horse registration deadline, and you better submit that or your application, like your entry is going to be withdrawn. So please select yes to that. You're going to give us the phone number to confirm. These boxes here are new. This is if you would like to give us permission to share your contact information with racing connections, as well as media upon request. So this is not us saying that we're going to give your information to, someone who wants to sell you something and we're going to bulk share everyone's information. But if you if someone is perusing our entries list and they're like, oh, hey, that like horse A is a horse that I bred and I would love to get in contact with the makeover trainer and get some pictures and hear how he's doing, or maybe even offer to cover some of their entry fees. If we have permission to share your contact information, amazing. Then we don't have to go to you and ask first. If there is a media personnel that says, oh, this person has a really cool horse, I'd like to get a quote from them for this article I'm writing about the makeover, and we have permission to share your contact information, that's all that this box means. So if you're okay with that, you're going to check it. If not, that's fine. We are looking into the feasibility of creating a directory list. So if you are someone that is interested in being contacted about taking in horses that would meet the makeover requirements, if you check this box, then we will have you on our list of people that are interested in being on our public directory. If you're someone that's not going to be taking in new horses anytime soon, or you already have many routes to get your horses from and you're not interested in being contacted by that, then you wouldn't want to select this box. Right now, you all can't see it because we're in drafting mode, but come application submission, there will be an entry table here, which is where you will select if you're an individual, a team captain, or a team member. And if you're an individual or team captain, it'll then ask you how many horses you're bringing. So that will be here starting on January 6th. To go over a little bit of the team, which I didn't get into in too much detail earlier. So individuals, pretty straightforward. You're competing the horse by yourself at the makeover. Teams, we see it all the time. Groups of friends, groups at the same barn, collegiate teams. You will have your team member and your team captains, or sorry, your team captain and your team members. And there is a team format for every discipline. So again, you're going to want to look at that rule book, because unlike in the individual entry where you can enter that horse up into 2 disciplines and you're obviously riding that horse from start to finish in the 2 disciplines you enter, in a team format, for every discipline that the horse is entered in, at least 2 team members must present that horse in competition. So for example, for show hunters, you have the under saddle and the 2 over fences. If that horse is entered as a team, you're going to need to have at least team member A doing the under saddle and team member B doing over fences 1 and 2, or it might be, you know, some other combination of that. But there is a team format for every single discipline. If you choose to enter as a team, you need to remember that you are sharing in every discipline up to 2 disciplines per horse that horse is entered in. It is not a situation where if you enter as a team and you like one team member does dressage and the other team member does competitive trail. If you enter 2 disciplines, you're sharing both of those disciplines. So there will be an entry table here. That's where you'll be selecting your entry type. You will be able to change that anytime until June 27th, I believe. So if you apply as an individual and decide you want to switch to a team, you can do that. You can contact us and have that switched. Again, if you're applying as a team, you're going to need to make sure that your team members also submit their applications before the late application deadline. Every single person participating in a team, anyone that wants to ride at the makeover, needs to submit an application. So that is very important, but it can be changed. So if you're thinking about doing an individual now, or if you apply as a team and it turns out this horse is just really jiving with one of you and not the other, and you want to switch to an individual, we can make that happen. Let's see here. Once all is said and done, you're going to hit that lovely submit button, and won't say there will be a save over here and a submit over here rather than one save. So if your application is done and you're ready to hit submit, you'll hit submit. It's going to take you to a waiver. You're going to sign that waiver, or if you're a junior, you're going to have your parent or guardian sign that waiver. Hit submit on the waiver, and then it's going to take you to the checkout and you're going to pay your fees. If there is any core requirement missing, so if Molly or I go to screen your application before it goes to the committee, you've hit that submit button, but we see you haven't signed your waiver, or you haven't paid your fees, or you haven't uploaded a vet recommendation letter, or your vet recommendation letter doesn't meet the requirements, or your videos don't meet the requirements, you're going to get an email from us stating that. We do have a drafted email already. It's pretty standard. Everyone gets just the same one if they're missing a requirement, and it's tailored to them and the requirement that they're missing. So don't be offended if you get one of those, but be on the lookout and make sure that you fulfill any of those missing requirements. If you submit your application on January 6th, and we've been emailing you since January 6th saying, hey, we can't access your flat video. You have it set to private. You need to unprivate it and like let us know. We'll give you all the ways to problem solve and get your application in good order. But if you don't do that before January 24th, your application will be considered late. You will be required to pay a late fee before the application committee will view your application. So don't try to get a jump start and hit submit so that it's submitted, but you're still missing payment, waiver, vet recommendation, whatever it might be. You can't come back once you hit submit and update things like your video, like your writing narrative. All of that's going to then have to be done by us. So don't hit submit until you're ready, until you have all your ducks in a row. It's not going to save you any time. It's not going to save you any money if you can't fulfill your requirements before January 24th. So if you have any issues, any questions, and you're concerned with filling it out the appropriate way, we're here to help you. But don't hit submit just to try to get it done and in. It's not in until we have enough material to send it off to the committee so that they can review it. And along with that, like, I want to make it very clear that while no, the application process is not just a formality, like you do need to really show the committee that this is a safe and suitable event for you. They are not looking to make sure that you're the next Grand Prix rider or upper level eventer. Like, this is an event that is truly open to juniors, amateurs, and professionals. They are looking to make sure that you can safely bring along a green horse in the time required for the discipline that you're interested in. So they're not going to be there scrutinizing your every move, but they do need proof that this is a safe and suitable event for you. I know it can be intimidating talking about your riding, and we're all like used to just paying a show fee and being able to go to a show. This is a showcase at the end of the day. We're creating breed ambassadors. We want to make sure that anyone that comes to watch the show is seeing how wonderful these horses are. And that's all this application process is to make sure that you're going to come and you're going to be a good breed ambassador. That doesn't mean that you're going to come and win. We're not looking at these applications saying every single person that comes to this Thoroughbred Makeover has to come in first place. We know that's not possible, but we're just looking to make sure that you are going to be safe and you're going to be successful. You're going to come and have a good time, and you're going to put your horse's well-being first at all times. That is always the most important. Let's see. I think that is about it. I'm going to stop sharing my screen now. Important to note again that applications always close at 5 p.m. So if you hit submit at 5:02 on January 24th, you're going to have a late fee. So account for that. It's not midnight. It's 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. So keep that in mind when you're submitting your applications. Don't submit your application until you have all of your requirements in, but please have all of your requirements in before January 24th. We would really like to not have the mad dash of applications coming in the last 2 hours. That happens every year. I'm a procrastinator. I get it. But would be much appreciated if we had a little bit more time between January 24th and February 18th, which is when acceptances will be announced, to go back to you if we're missing something or if the committee needs a little bit more information about something. So with that, I'm going to open the floor for questions. Molly, have there been any that have come in already that you would like to share?
Yes, we have a couple questions. I'm actually going to ask you a question real quick as well. Would you mind touching on our 2025 clinics real quick?
Oh, yes. Thank you. I forgot about that. That's a fun new opportunity. We started it a little bit this year in 2024 at the 2025 Thoroughbred Makeover on Friday after prelim competition has ended. We will have clinics with the judges from prelim competition. So anyone that has not made it into the championship, so if you're not in the top 10 of your discipline, you will have the opportunity to take a clinic with the judge of the discipline you are in, or even a different discipline if you're looking to dabble in something else. There's more information about that in the rule book. Signups are before the day of, so you will want it opens final entry. It opens in August. And fun new thing that we'll be doing actually is we will be opening a select number of spots for clinics to graduate horses. So if you have a graduate horse from any year, 2020, 2018, whatever it might be, that you'd like to bring to participate in a hunter clinic, a jumper clinic, competitive trail, dressage, whatever it might be, that's a great opportunity to be able to bring your horse back to the Thoroughbred Makeover environment and get some time in front of those judges. So it's a really great opportunity for you all to learn from the judges that gave you your scores and take home some more feedback. The Thoroughbred Makeover is at its core a learning opportunity. So that gives you some time to learn even more and end on a good note. If prelim competition maybe doesn't go your way, then you have opportunity for redemption. And it's also a fantastic opportunity. We're so excited to be able to open it up to alumni and see some of our graduate horses come back. So that's clinics. There's more information in the rule book and plenty more information of that to come throughout the year. But we started that this year. It was awesome. Our people had a great time, and we can't wait to expand on it this year.
Awesome. Okay. So moving on to questions. What about fox hunting? This is as it pertains to horses competing in sports other than racing before December 1st, 2024.
So that is laid out pretty extensively in our rule book. There are, to put it simply, they can have hill-topped or hunted third field. If they've hunted first or second field before December 1st and it wasn't as part of cross training for steeplechasing, they are not eligible. If it was cross training as part of steeplechasing and there is documentation that it was during their steeplechase training, that is okay. If they've hunted first or second field and it was before December 1st and they are not an ex steeplechaser, unfortunately, they are not eligible to compete in the Thoroughbred Makeover.
Okay, then our next question is, can you send a jumping video at a later date, or does it have to be sent in January?
Yes, you can. If you don't have your jumping video now or won't be able to get it by January 24th, you'll get your jumping restriction and you'll have until June 27th to supply us with that appropriate jumping video. If you're planning on like entering a jumping discipline, make sure that's very clear in your application. So if you want to do show hunters, but you know you don't have the appropriate jumping video right now, and you know that you don't really have the appropriate video to say that you're doing dressage, go ahead and put your flat video in both the flat video section and the jumping and discipline video sections, and just put very clearly in that video description when you're putting it in jumping and discipline, saying this is a placeholder. I don't have the appropriate video yet. I'm happy to be considered for acceptance for limited non-jumping, and I will supply the appropriate video later.
Okay. Moving on to recent show experience. So this is someone who has been riding and competing since 1987. However, they have not shown competitively in about 15 years or so. Their older horse was semi-retired, so they haven't had much more recent experience. Is that going to hurt their application?
It shouldn't. You're going to want to touch on your recent riding experience then. And you can say in your narrative, like, I have not shown, like, I used to show competitively. I haven't shown competitively since whatever the year would be, because my horse is semi-retired. However, I have been taking weekly lessons and I have been doing XYZ. There are plenty of ways to make up for lack of competition experience or lack of recent competition experience with just what your game plan is to get that experience this year with your makeover horse and what riding experience you have in the meantime. We have plenty of people apply every year that have never been to a show until they apply for the makeover, and they know that during the makeover process is when they're going to get to a show. So you don't need to have show experience. Obviously, show experience is helpful to the committee, but there are plenty of other ways that you can expand on your riding experience and narrative, and just generally showing the committee what your plan is. If you feel like there are gaps in your resume, what your plan is to make up for those gaps. That's very important.
Thank you. When and where do you register for your horse?
Great question. So horse registrations will open once you hit your application submission button. That's going to be through the portal. I believe it will take you to the horse registration page automatically. And I don't know what the sequence of events is there, if that's after checkout, if that's before the waiver. But that'll be through the trainer portal regardless, even if you don't have your horse on application submission day. It'll be very clear. Unfortunately, the portal's not ready for me to show you what it would look like right now, but there will be a like register my thoroughbred button in the my entries table. And that will take you to the horse registration page. So you can do that starting once you hit submit on your application until I believe it's July 29th or July 28th. I'm sorry, I don't remember the date off the top of my head. But you have until essentially the end of July to register your horse, and that'll be done through the portal. But that is not done until after you submit your application. So it's application first, horse registration second.
When you sign up for clinics, do you do that at the makeover? And do you do that only if you don't make it to the championships?
You will do that likely, it will be before the makeover, unless we have spots open up, and then we will try to give people the opportunity to sign up for any open slots. But that will be done likely during the final entry process, so in August, and it'll be open until September. And if you make it to the championship, you will be offered a refund because you will not be able to participate. So congratulations. And if that opens up a spot for someone else, we'll try to give someone else the chance to register for it. But long story short, you will be registering for clinics before the makeover, not during. Is that it so far?
That is it at the moment.
All right, so gonna last chance. If you have any questions, please put them in the Q&A. Please put them in the comments on Facebook. If not, I've taken up plenty of your Thursday evening. So I'm going to give it a minute. And while I'm letting you guys think about any questions you might want to ask, just a reminder that if you have any questions that you think of later, secretary@therrp.org is the best way to reach us. And we really hope that the Thoroughbred Makeover, after today, you've learned that it is a great fit for you and that you're super excited to bring a green horse along through this process. And we hope to see you in Lexington in October. Let's see, we have something in the Q&A. Thank you, Kim. All right, awesome. We all good on Facebook, Molly? All right, well, with that, thank you guys. Have a lovely night. I hope to see applications from all of you in January. And again, if you have any questions, email secretary@therrp.org. Happy holidays and have a lovely evening.